we're shooting. Rory, you want to start?
Sure. You're on. Okay, Rory Corey from the Military Museums. We're doing an exhibit on military immigration next year, which will be shown in our temporary gallery, the Founders Gallery, from May until September. And the whole premise of the exhibit is we want to focus on people that served in the military in another country and then later immigrated to Alberta. So we've had some good involvement from the Hungarian community, the South Vietnamese community. Tomorrow we have a meeting with the Italian community, and we've already met with the Hispanic community, Argentinian, Chilean, Colombian community, and hopefully we're going to get more communities involved around the Calgary and Alberta area. But tonight we wanted to talk to you guys to find out if there's any stories that you'd like us to present of specifically Americans that served in the military at any time period during any conflict and then later moved to Alberta. So when we did the Vietnam exhibit, for instance, back in 2018, we did focus on some of the people that are involved with both the Legion here and that generally lived in Alberta as well. So Joel was one of the individuals that we focused on as part of an oral history, and Sharon Wildwind was another individual that we focused on, originally from Louisiana, and we focused on Bill Lorfing as well. I forget where Bill was originally from. Do you guys remember where he was from?
Sorry, can't.
Anyways, American originally.
Is that Florence's brother?
No, that's Jeff Lukey.
Okay.
But any of those people that I just mentioned would be valid if you want us to focus on those stories again, or if there's other members that we haven't focused on so far. Like I say, have to have served in the American military, and therefore we're looking for Americans specifically, and that later came to Alberta. But like I say, it could be any time period as well, so it doesn't just have to be Vietnam. So Chong, for instance, might be a good candidate as well if we want to talk about Iraq or some of the more recent conflicts, for instance. But I don't know everybody that's ever been associated with the American Legion here. So that's another thing, it doesn't have to be anyone that's actually alive either. So if you have past members that you'd like their stories to come forward, we can definitely focus on them as well. But some of the key criteria that we're looking at to choose people, we'd like to have artifacts available from that person to really help flesh out their story, so we present those in a case like we did in the Vietnam exhibit. Ideally, the person would have an interesting story, a very engaging story, and also that ideally, if the person is alive, then we could do an oral history with them if we already haven't done an oral history with them. So those are kind of the three main criteria that we're looking at. We don't have to hit all of those if you really want us to focus on a specific person. We're looking for, probably each community will choose 3 or 4 people, that kind of thing. And we're hoping that we'll have enough funding to do an oral history screen like we had in the Vietnam exhibit. So maybe available to have another 3 or 4 people on the touch screen. Could be the same 3 or 4 people that are focused on with the artifacts and the personality banners. Just like we had in the Vietnam exhibit, with a bit of a biography and a photo related to the person. We're also going to have a strong art component with the exhibit, so we're looking for portraits of individuals, artistic photography, anything like that sort of thing that would relate to the American experience, the American military experience. Dick, you might want to go more into that.
Sure, absolutely. So thank you very much for hosting us here this evening. It's always a pleasure for me to come to a Legion and meet new people. And in terms of the exhibition, My role, and again, my name is Dick Averns. I'm the curatorial coordinator for Founders Gallery. I work for the University of Calgary in partnership with the military museums and all the stakeholders there. As Rory said, I'll be curating the art component, and so I'd like to elaborate a little bit on that. And in the first instance, I know that Joel is very familiar with the current exhibition that we have at Founders Gallery, which is called They Never Talked About It, Untold Stories World War II. If any of your members, people that get to watch this clip on your internet link, would like to come and see the current exhibition, then please get in touch with myself or with Rory. We'd be happy to host you on an individual basis or as a group. Obviously with the COVID situation, my wearing the mask here, we recognize that not everybody is necessarily comfortable going out. We do open the museum at 9 in the morning for people that are either more concerned about COVID or at risk, so that is before it opens to the public, generally at 10. I'm also open to doing tours after hours, so like after 4 in the afternoon. And the reason that I mention this is that the current exhibition has a great template, if you will, for highlighting biographies of key individuals. For the instance of that show, it's focusing on the 75th anniversary for the end of World War II. But the 2 or 3 dozen individuals that are profiled with their stories, we have a write-up about them. We then have artifacts or artworks that flesh out their story visually. And so I'd like to expand on what the possibility for artworks could be. If you have individuals in your community that were part of Vietnam or Korea or other conflicts, there might be the opportunity for us to hear where they were. If they have photographs of their time in service, that would be great. That would be a visual reference. We may be able to source archival images of particular battles or the regions in which people fought. News media, photojournalism, we consider that part and parcel of the current approach to artistry and creating a visual language. So one possibility could be, Rory mentioned current conflicts. There may be individuals that have been to Iraq, have been to Afghanistan, potentially even to Grenada if we went back a couple of decades, and that they now live in Alberta. In the current times, I know that a lot of troops will make their own music videos, right? Pop songs, rock songs, and then put their own video together. And so that's something that could be considered as what I would call soldier art. So the current exhibition at the Founders Gallery for the art that I curated was really built around multiple perspectives of what art could be. So propaganda. We have some original Nazi propaganda posters. So if any of you that's particularly thinking of Vietnam, we know that there was like a big counter-war movement, the civil rights era and so forth. People may have memorabilia and propaganda material that relates to that era. So whatever the conflict, whatever the perspective, propaganda, that's something, graphic design, that we would consider. I mentioned photojournalism. We're open to perspectives from all sides of the conflict. So in the current exhibit, we have a Japanese flag, we have a German flag, we have photojournalism created by a German who was on the front lines. So if the content helps shape the story visually, we are open to considering it. And obviously some of these things, they may border more with the artifact than the art side of it. Prisoner of war art is something that we're very interested in. Official war art. So there may be American combat artists that were in the field in some of the areas that any of your members may have actually been involved with on the front lines. or on the home front. And so I would be open to doing research and helping find combat art that might augment the stories. So cartoons, humor, that's another consideration that we're open to, and military art, obviously. So art that depicts often the battle material, tanks, airplanes, fighting units, and so forth. So other considerations could be cultural ephemera. It could be personal mementos. It could be a teddy bear. It could be a love letter. It could be a lucky keepsake. Any and all of those kind of considerations that help give a personal touch. For having the opportunity to look around at the visual material here, I'm very taken with the rubbing of Stanley Fenner's name from the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the Maya Lin Monument in Washington. Having been there myself and had the opportunity to do a rubbing. I actually did a rubbing of one of the few females that was killed, and his name is on the wall, who was a nurse.
We had the miniature wall here several years ago, and I did some rubbings of some of the people that I knew,
Right.
and it was very touching.
Mm-hmm. And so, Rory mentioned some of the other community groups that we've been meeting with, and we know that in the instance of the Vietnamese Community Association, the Vietnamese Veteran Association, they're involved with the creation of the new monument to South Vietnamese and boat people, and the Path to Freedom Park that's been created on International Avenue. And so that's something that for sure I hope to feature in the show. If there are monuments locally that are in Calgary that relate to your past, then please let me know about that. Just again from coming here and seeing the Vietnam Memorial and knowing that there's the Korea Memorial also in Washington, I think there's the possibility to build a visual narrative that relates to monuments and so forth. Of course, we're open to portraits, so most of all, hearing about who you think that you know are the people that have the stories that are told. Of course, we want to be able to visualize them and be able to depict them through art and artifacts, but part of my job as a curator and in having Kelsey and Alicia here doing research is to find ways that we can visualize people's stories. We know that in some instances, people may have left their homes under not ideal circumstances and have very few personal keepsakes or mementos. People that maybe discarded their medals or were not happy with the political situation and don't have the visual material that otherwise we might be able to use. We can find ways to augment that, and at times we will take illustrative examples of a situation to help tell somebody's story if they don't have those objects themselves. So I hope that helps flesh it out a little bit more. And I would say that what I'd really like to be able to hear from your organization is the names of some individuals, if they have the artifacts and artwork that they would like to loan. All the work would be insured. So I want to highlight that. The gallery is climate controlled and temperature controlled, so we do our utmost to look after material that comes in. And even if you have members who don't have a story or that don't want their story told but have objects that they could loan or they know of the whereabouts of other objects, then that would help us out tremendously as well. Thank you very much.
So basically what we're looking for today is, some initial suggestions, initial discussion with you about, what people you'd like us to focus on. Like if there's some specific names that you might have in mind. Like I've mentioned a few. I've got a few others that I've identified as well that we can go through, but I'll open the floor to you guys if you have some suggestions at this point.
I'm really sorry we couldn't have had the rest of the post in on this. All I can do right now is just put this on out to them somehow and let them get back to us.
Yeah, like hopefully they can comment on the post.
We'll post it on the
I think the easiest thing is to put
website.
it on the website.
And email to everyone.
Well, I don't know how I can email it. It might be too big, but we'll see.
No, you don't email the file, you email the link.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. So there's two other things that I can add. One, in having Kelsey and Alicia here, as interns from the University of Calgary Museum and Heritage Studies program, are there any things that you can think of or that you would like to add or put out there? Because you've done a lot of legwork in making contacts with community groups, and you've heard Rory and I give the pitch a number of times now, and if there are things that might resonate with you or that we've forgotten or that you'd like to elaborate on, so we'll make sure you got the chance to be involved as well and put anything forward.
I think I'm good. Don't know. The theme with many of the community associations was the objects being left behind or not allowed to enter the country. So I think that is an interesting angle. But even so.
Yeah, I think that's actually, I'm really pleased that you mentioned that. In one particular instance, and it was meeting with the Hungarian Veterans Association, but as you say, Alicia, this has been a common theme, that lots of people have had to leave everything behind, or they've lost everything in conflict, and so finding ways to be able to evoke that is something that we're considering. So one suggestion that we had from one community group was an empty suitcase, battered empty suitcase. And we thought that was very evocative. A lot of artists will use things like discarded clothes or empty shoes to be able to convey emotion or affect through art. And so it also reminds me of something that I forgot, so thank you. If you have artists in your community, or if your post wished to commission an artist, then we would be open to having new art that is made. And one of the things that the university will be helping fund is exhibition fees for artists. So if we have artists that make work or that have work in their oeuvre. So you may be aware of people, or you may have just seen the art that speaks to some of these conflicts that would relate to individuals, then we will pay a professional fee to the artist to have their work exhibited. And if there is new work that is being made, then we are available to make a production fee, a small, a couple of $100 available to help offset materials. We're also interested in hoping that by then we're going to be in more of a post-COVID era of having in-person cultural events, or if it's like it is right now, movie screenings is one thing. That's a lot of people spend a lot of time on various screens, of course, but a lot of film festivals have actually thrived and been able to rent their movies. Some panels then do take place virtually. With this exhibition being during the summer, there will be the hope that we can do more things out of doors, and so that allows for greater social distancing. So if there are individuals that come forward, and whether we have something that might be around Veterans Day, for instance, or Memorial Day, if there's somebody in the show that is deceased and we had something on their birthday or on the anniversary of the day that they died or on the anniversary of a key battle or event of where they served, that would be of relevance if people have something that they want to help offer by way of community engagement. Not everything has to just be static in the gallery. And then the other thing I would say, Rory mentioned the oral history scenario. If people have any video footage or have Super 8 film footage or anything like that, we're open to all different kinds of media. And the last thing I would say, you may have people that have had different citizenships or that actually are here now and that you know them because of their involvement in American forces, but they may have actually been involved fighting with other countries. And so that's something that we're open to. We're also not confining our scope to involvement with sovereign forces. So if there's people that fought as part of guerrilla organizations freedom fighters,
Soldiers of Fortune.
Soldiers of Fortune, French Foreign Legion, child soldiers. We're open to the full gamut.
That's something that I forgot to talk to the South Vietnamese about this morning, was doing events next summer, the possibility of doing events.
Yeah.
So we'll have.
You're talking about artists, well, that's just, the only one I can remember or think about would be Sharon Wildwood, who has
Sharon.
written many books.
Yeah, so that was actually gonna be one of my questions for you, like, so with the Canadian Forces Artist Program,
Mhm.
like, there's many different kinds of art that they allow for that,
Yes.
so it's not just visual art, it's the prose and videography, that sort of thing, so are you interested in prose as well?
Yes, I would be. And so, from the personal perspective, and obviously this isn't about me, but my interests in this and my research also stem from having been deployed as an official war artist. And so I went to the Middle East and was actually the first Canadian war artist to be selected as a non-fiction writer. So obviously prose would be a part of that. The history of the Canadian Forces Artist Program has evolved considerably over the last 19 years, from traditionally two-dimensional media, drawings and paintings, to poetry, children's books, music. There was a requiem for Afghanistan that was created and was performed in conjunction with the Calgary Philharmonic, if I remember rightly. Yeah, video art, installation art, and so yeah, the possibilities of what art might be. If you have people that wrote poems or have written first-person accounts, we're definitely interested in that. We're hoping to also have like a reading room or some kind of sit-down space within the gallery. Again, this will be subject to people being able to touch things, which is a bit of a challenge at the moment, but there's also the possibility that if we are able to get staff to be in the gallery, that we can circulate objects. So the way that the library at the university is working currently is that objects can be taken out and handled, but then they have to go through a quarantining period before they can be touched by anybody else. So there's all sorts of approaches that we can take, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Far and wide.
Sharon Wildwood has written a series of mystery novels based on her experiences in Vietnam.
Okay, Sharon Wildwood?
Yeah,
Wind.
Wind.
Wild Wind, yeah.
Wild Wind. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I should know that. But
I've got examples of her books if you want to borrow them.
yeah, like to see that, definitely. Yeah, for
I
sure.
think they might still be on sale in the gift shop too. Do you
Okay.
remember if they're still there?
Well, I think so, but I don't know. It's been a while since
I'm
I've
trying
been
to
there. but-
remember, yeah, I haven't looked at the books recently, I can't remember if they're still up. I think they may be, at least one of them.
Yeah. Is she in Calgary?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's locked down pretty hard during COVID though, I gotta say, like, I've been trying to return some stuff to her
Okay.
from the Vietnam show, and
Yeah.
she's not willing to do that exchange even.
Fair comment, fair comment.
No, but you can still talk over the
Yeah, absolutely.
video or whatever.
Yeah.
A reading, that's a possibility. So, yeah, if it's somebody that's has written work. We actually have a catalog launch that will take place in December. It'll be free and online, but it's from an exhibition that we had last year at the Founders Gallery and closed just in January. That work was by an artist called Mary Kavanagh, Daughters of Uranium, looked at the evolution of the atomic bomb and the fallout, both literally and metaphorically from that. So the catalogue's just arrived a week or so ago, which will be helped deliver them. And so, yeah, we'll be having authors do readings online as part of a launch event for that. So I'll get that information to you because you could share that with your members, and if people are interested in hearing readings about that sort of thing. So we're doing everything we can to have online and community access events.
So I don't know if you guys had some initial thoughts on what kind of people you wanted to focus on?
We should, yeah, we should probably be in touch with folks.
Membership.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
but if you've got to start on it, because most of the ones who are interested, you've met at one point or another along the way.
I can talk about some of the other people that we've identified too,
Mhm.
if you want. So, this one's actually a donation to us at the museum. Mr. Gene Lee was originally from Hobart, Oklahoma, served in the Second World War. Where did he serve? He did go overseas, I know that. At one point, they captured a warehouse with 2 other pistols, and we got one of those souvenir pistols. He came to Canada afterwards. He was a geologist and eventually settled in Calgary in 1969. Was in the oil and gas industry. He was actually the director of the Rough Riders and the Stampeders at one point. So fairly well-known individual. He was going to be a pilot, but he got German measles and his eyesight wasn't good enough, so they transferred him to the signals instead. So he was with the, drum roll, 927th Signals Battalion. So, oh yeah, here we go. He served in Italy, southern France, northern France, the Rhineland, and Central Europe. So, he got the, oh wow, campaign medal with 5 Bronze Stars. That's pretty significant. Good Conduct Medal, Meritorious Unit Award, American Theater Campaign Medal. What we got from him was a pistol, Walther, a Bible with a metal cover, belt buckle, German belt buckle, some badges and insignia, marksman badge, U.S. Army. We have his tunic as well, a laminated map of Germany and Italy that he used when he was scouting ahead to see where the Germans were, and then telegraphing that information back. So that's kind of cool. Wedge cap to go with his jacket, backpack, German flag, and a German map as well. So some good material there. From the Jewish Historical Society of Southern Alberta, we have a number of other suggestions of Americans or people that served in the American military. So all these individuals are Jewish, and all of them later came to Alberta. So if you guys may remember some of these names, I'm not sure like how many people have come and gone with the Legion Post over the years, but Frederick Wolf, he was actually born in Germany and served in the U.S. Army. Interestingly, he served in India, so must be a story there. Jack Vinet, or Vinet, born in Chicago, served in the Navy, and he was at Oahu during Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
We have John Reese, who was born in Bohemia, served in the Army, was part of the Strategic Bombing Survey as an artillery survey and a translator. He served in Germany as well. Sol Niesenhoff was born in New York, served in the Army as a cook. Stop me if any of these names ring a bell. We have Alfred Levinson, born in Staten Island, served in the U.S. Navy. We have Milton or Mickey Lanoff, born in Brooklyn, served in the Navy as a radar man, 3rd class, got 2 Bronze Stars, served on board a minesweeper. Leo Lanoff, I assume that they're related, born in Brooklyn, served in the Army. got the Purple Heart, served in Belgium. He was captured in 1944, wounded by shrapnel, and spent 8 months as a prisoner of war with the Germans. So that's an interesting one. I, Jaffe, don't know his first name, served in the Army. Burton Hoffman, or Bert Hoffman, born in Brooklyn, served in the Ardennes, so Battle of the Bulge and Rhineland. He was in the 75th Infantry, 290th Infantry Regiment. Served in Belgium, France, Holland, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Arthur Fishman was born in Brooklyn, served in the Navy. Jacob Faber was born in New York, served in the Coast Guard, Merchant Marine, so that's an interesting experience that we don't cover very often. And I know that they were involved with the Battle of the Atlantic directly. So. Peter Blitzer was born in New York, served in the Army in the Philippines. And finally, Daniel Bloomfield. He was born in Cleveland, Ohio, served in the U.S. Army Air Force as an air gunner. And interestingly, he was posted to Calgary during the war to service planes en route to through the Alaska Highway. So along the Amber route, the Lend-Lease route, flying planes to Russia. So that's an interesting experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you may want to ask the members if any of those names ring a bell too. But if any of those stories stand out, I mean, I can even leave these with you guys and you can page through them if you want. See if any of those are people that you'd like us to focus on. We can try and contact the families and see if they have any artifacts through the Jewish Historical Society. I should note that, so the Jewish Historical Society, in conjunction with the University of Calgary, is doing a sort of an adjunct exhibit to the military immigration exhibit, but primarily focusing on women that served, Jewish Canadian women that served. I don't know if you wanted to mention a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that particular show will be throughout the military museums, commencing in May, which is Jewish Heritage Month. And the two researchers have been looking into female service personnel in the Second World War who were Jewish. And so what it really hits on is aspects of diversity, and I think that it's also relevant for trying to create a balance, that we're a lot of the time dealing with conflict through a male lens, and it also gives rise to aspects of the home front, the domestic side of things. Very often at the end of the war, women were expected to just go home, you know. Even munitions workers that helped fuel the war, afterwards then it was kind of like time to go back home, right? So
Back home, cook and make babies.
That's it, there we go. So that's one aspect of it, but another that comes to rise as a corollary, you know, kind of like following on, as Rory says, some of these individuals will be part and parcel of the military immigration show. But contemporaneously, if you do have members that are Jewish and have children that are Jewish and have grown up in Israel or have gone back and lived there, then they quite possibly would have done the conscription. That is still part and parcel of the military in the Jewish state. So we haven't explored that yet. I thought about it just this last week or two because I met somebody that recently that had done that and thought that was another avenue that we could look at by talking to some of those folks, because it would give a contemporary look at military service. We know that lots of people ended up fighting in previous wars because of conscription, but there are still countries that do have conscription today. And so Israel's a great example of that, right? So if any of you have connections for individuals that would do that. It also allows us to cover a greater breadth of age group, because we may have people that are in their 20s or even late teens that have got that military service.
Is there a Russian community, an organized Russian community in Calgary? Given
There
the
used to be.
conscription and the Afghanistan involvement, there might be some possibilities in that direction.
Did you guys manage to find contact info?
No, I couldn't, I find anything.
Stray thought, is the Polish Combatants Association still in existence?
We did try contacting them, and there's a Polish Combatants Association in Edmonton that we tried contacting as well.
No?
Nothing. Did any of those names ring a bell? No? Okay.
I've only been involved for about 20 years, and I'm not good with names anyway, so.
No,
Yeah.
not, I don't think any of them were members of the
Yeah,
Post.
there are an awful lot of
Just about
American
everybody.
veterans who have never bothered joining the Legion or didn't even know we existed. There's an
Exactly.
awful lot. And others of the Vietnam era who wanted nothing to do with military-related organizations after they got out.
Yeah.
But like I say, like we're looking at all time
Yeah.
periods. So even as far potentially back as the American Civil War, like I know that there are Civil War veterans buried here in Alberta, for
Mhm.
instance. So if you were able to find information on their stories, we could even focus on them.
Mhm.
Have you checked with CBC and CTV? I remember seeing things on local news, anecdotes of, Confederate veteran reinterred or a Union veteran. But as a sidelight, since we're allowing for, and I was wondering if you were non-state militaries, have you been in contact with Sudanese, Ethiopian,
Ethiopian, yes.
Congolese? Well, you've had several interesting wars ongoing in various West African countries as well that might be potential for both state and non-state militaries.
We have contacted most of those, but
No luck?
haven't heard back, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't hear back from any of the African ones, did we?
I know one of my scout leaders, I've completely lost touch with him, conscripted into the Czechoslovakian military, did his 2 years. It only came up in passing because the Land Cruiser I drove was just like, it was exactly like the military vehicles that he was driving, he was in.
Do you have his contact info still?
No, I can't even remember his family name now. It's interesting. He's Czech, his wife is Slovak, and the kids code switched between languages at home, as well as English as their primary. They're close but not identical, and they
Well,
switch between.
total sideways segue, just going through the collection today, I noticed a 2017 donation from Eva Muskovich. We have a Czech tunic with the medals group, apparently was a refugee from the Holocaust. So might be something good to include.
Yeah.
That might have been,
In the email, when we emailed Walter, I think he said a Czech, he had a Czech uniform that might be.
Probably the one.
So you
The
say
same.
you couldn't get a hold of the Polish combatants?
No.
Do you guys have contact?
Through Kuva, we did. I can see if there's something through their contact. I can't remember her name. But, yeah, we'll contact her and see, get it to you.
That'd be great.
Or I'll see if any of my old emails have got his name on it, their name on it.
So yeah, if you wanted to run the video by the membership,
Yeah.
and we can have a follow-up meeting.
I shall put this on our website and tell everybody to have a look at it. And that's about all I can do right now. I'm sorry I screwed up the Zoom thing, but
I wouldn't say that it's you, sir.
Yes, let's blame Zoom.
Okay, well, I'm gonna
I
shut this
blame
off now.
Microsoft as a base. Microsoft is the root of all.
Once again,
relationships.
everybody introduce yourselves, Rory.
I'm Rory Corey, the senior curator at the Military Museums.
Yep, my name is Dick Averns. I'm the curatorial coordinator.
Spell your last name.
Sure, it's A for Alpha, V for Victor, E for Echo, R for Romeo, N November, S Sierra, Averns. Think of it like taverns, but there ain't no T there.
I'm Kelsey Walker, and I'm one of the UFC interns with the Military Museums.
I'm Alicia Lester Vanderheid, and I'm also a UC intern.
And that's Joe Vecchione. He's our commander.
Didn't duck fast enough.